You ever wonder if a country's economic fate is just set in stone? Or can a country actually rewrite its own future with the right moves? Well, today we're looking at 3 countries that prove it's absolutely the latter. They didn't just get lucky, no way. They built economic powerhouses by making some seriously bold bets on technology. So let's crack open these playbooks and see exactly how they pulled it off. And this is really the big question, isn't it? After the 2008 financial crisis, so many countries were just treading water, but a few of them saw a massive opportunity. They asked themselves this exact question, and they came up with some brilliant and actually very different answers.
Okay, so first up, we've got Sweden. Now, their strategy wasn't about splashy tax cuts or anything like that. No, they focused on something way more fundamental, something from the ground up.
Their big bet was simple, but it was also kind of profound. They figured if you build the best digital roads in the world, the economic traffic, well, it's going to show up. They decided that the absolute foundation of a modern economy was giving everyone access to world-class, high-speed internet.
And here's the really clever part, how they did it. So back in 2010, they auctioned off their 4G spectrum. But instead of trying to make a quick buck by jacking up the price, they did the exact opposite. They lowered the price, but they attached one huge string. Whoever won had to promise to build out 4G coverage across the entire country. They were playing the long game, infrastructure over instant cash.
And this just shows you how incredibly well that policy worked. I mean, look at that jump. They went from just 2% coverage in 2010 to 70% in only 4 years. This wasn't some slow, gradual change. This was a state-engineered leap into the future. They basically laid the digital groundwork for their entire next-gen economy in less time than it takes to get through a single presidential term.
So the big question is, did it actually pay off? Oh, you bet it did. That investment in infrastructure turned directly into economic growth, adding almost 19 billion Swedish kroner to their GDP. Talk about a fantastic return on a really smart bet.
All right, let's move on to our second playbook. Ireland took a completely different approach. You could say that if Sweden was building the roads, Ireland was putting up these giant, flashing, neon signs that just screamed, "Hey, we're open for business." Their bet was all about making Ireland the most attractive place in Europe, maybe even the world, for the big tech giants to set up shop. They basically decided to turn their entire country into an economic magnet for foreign investment.
And they really rolled out the red carpet. Seriously, this wasn't just one little policy tweak. They created a whole ecosystem of incentives. We're talking a corporate tax rate of just 12.5%, an even lower rate for developing intellectual property, capital gains exemptions, and over 60 different tax treaties. It was an incredibly aggressive, all-out blitz to lure the world's biggest tech firms.
And the result? Over 105,000 new, high-skilled jobs. This move is what turned Ireland into the fastest-growing economy in the EU by 2014. Now, of course, this super aggressive strategy got some criticism, with some people labeling the country a tax haven. But you just can't argue with the massive impact it had on creating jobs at home.
Okay, our final playbook comes from Vietnam. And this one might be the most focused, highest-stakes strategy of them all. See, they didn't try to attract everybody. They went after one single giant and decided to build an entire industry around them.
The bet was to find what you'd call a massive anchor tenant. And for them, that was Samsung. They decided to give Samsung an offer that was just too good to refuse. The whole idea was that a company that huge would create its own economic gravity, pulling in suppliers, jobs, and expertise that would lift up the entire country.
And just how good was that offer? Well, this right here says it all. The standard corporate tax in Vietnam was 20%. They offered Samsung a rate of 0%. Zero for 4 years. You literally cannot get more aggressive than that. It was a crystal clear signal that they were all in.
And the results were just explosive. Take a look at this growth. The country's GDP more than tripled in under a decade. This wasn't just a little bump, it was a total economic transformation, and it was powered by this super targeted investment strategy.
And the scale of Samsung's impact is just mind-blowing. By 2018, one single company was responsible for 20%, a full fifth of Vietnam's entire national exports. Just let that sink in. A whole ecosystem of suppliers, logistics, skilled workers, all revolving around this one massive investment. Now that shows the incredible power of the anchor tenant strategy. But, it also shows the risk of tying so much of your economy to one single foreign company.
So let's just pull this all together for a second.
We've got three totally different countries with three really distinct playbooks. Sweden built the foundation and saw their GDP soar. Ireland became a magnet for investment and created a ton of high-skilled jobs. And Vietnam went all in on an anchor tenant and built an export machine. Each strategy was bold, tailored, and, well, incredibly effective.
So what's the common thread here? Is there some kind of ultimate playbook that connects all these amazing success stories? Well, yeah, there is. And it's less about the specific tactic they used and more about their whole mindset.
And this right here, this is the secret sauce. Every single one of these countries chose a long-term vision over short-term gain. Sweden could have made way more cash up front from its 4G auction. Ireland and Vietnam gave up huge amounts of immediate tax revenue. But they all got it. They understood that real, lasting economic transformation, that takes strategic patience and a laser focus on the future.
Which, brings us to one last thought. These playbooks worked wonders for the tech of the last decade. But as we look ahead to things like AI, biotech, clean energy, what is the boldest, most strategic bet a country could make today to lock in its prosperity for tomorrow?